In Unit 10, Learner Engagement Approaches, Part 2, we are covering using questions effectively and interactive discussions. Questioning is a very powerful approach to ensure interactive discussion and learner engagement. Developing skills for effective questioning is very important. The response on a question depends on the design of the question and how the teacher manages questions and answers. The ultimate aim is for the teacher to create a questioning atmosphere where learners feel comfortable to answer questions and to ask questions. The prescribed reading for this Unit 10 Part 2 is Chapter 3 of our prescribed textbook. Read carefully through section 3.2 from pages 46 to 52. The topics we are covering in Part 2 of Unit 10 is questioning. So we will look at the importance of questioning, the purpose of questioning, how to use questions effectively, and the questioning sequence. We will also briefly look at interactive discussions as structured conversation. The two topics of questioning and interactive discussions are linked. Effective questioning can lead to interactive discussions as a whole class approach, or in small groups, or as pair work. The learning outcomes for this Part 2 of Unit 10 is that you should be able to describe this questioning sequence with examples, that you should be able to apply the skills of questioning, and that you should be able to identify various strategies to engage learners in interactive discussions on a topic. So what does research tell us about the importance of effective questioning in the classroom? Numerous studies have been done on the effectiveness and ineffectiveness of questioning in the classroom. In this unit, we will look at some key reasons for ineffective questioning so that you can avoid these pitfalls. As pointed out on page 46 of Chapter 3 of our prescribed textbook, researchers found that lecturing, also referred to as teacher tell, is still regarded as the most popular approach, with questioning rated as the second most important teaching method or approach. Why is questioning important? It allows for effective communication with learners, to stimulate learners' thinking, and to create opportunities for interaction between the teacher and learners, and between learners within the classroom. International research has shown that teachers' use of questioning in the classroom is rather limited. Although teachers ask about 1,000 questions per week, yes, can you believe it? 1,000 questions per week. Only 25% of these questions encourage learners to think. 60% of teachers ask lower order questions. 15% of questions are related to routine and classroom management. For example, did you complete your homework? What did we do yesterday? The reason why teachers ask so many lower order questions is because teachers more than often do not plan their questions. Beginner teachers answer more than half of their own questions as they are not aware of the questioning sequence and have not yet developed these questioning skills. Only 7% of beginner teachers use questions to increase learner involvement. Research has also shown that there's a lot of improvement needed in teachers' competence in using questions to foster peer learning. Teachers also do not teach learners how to ask questions, and this is very important in order to create a questioning atmosphere in the classroom. Page 47 in Chapter 3 of the prescribed reading focuses on the purpose of questioning. But here is a lovely quote about the purpose of questioning. One purpose of questioning is to stimulate curiosity. Imagine if Newton did not ask and act on the question, why do apples fall to the ground? Followed by, what happens when the apple falls to the ground? Let's look at some guidelines for using questions effectively in the classroom. Questions must be phrased appropriately. Let's look at these two questions on the slide. Question 1. What motivates Macbeth at this point? Question 2. So when we consider the situation in which Macbeth finds himself at this point in time and look at these actions thus far, what would be his motivation? Question 1 is easier to understand as it is brief and clear. The second question is much longer but says the same as question 1. Another key criteria that needs to be kept in mind is that questions, you should not ask too many questions at once. For example, who has a pet? A dog. A cat. Who has a dog? Who thinks a mouse can be a pet? This is rather confusing for the learners. They will not know which part of the question to answer first. It is best to ask, who has a pet? Wait for answers and then build towards the more complex classification of who thinks a mouse can be a pet. More than often, teachers ask a question and answer it themselves. If learners cannot ask a question, allow them time to think or rephrase the question. Perhaps the question is not clear. Only answer the question if you have tried getting the response from learners and it was unsuccessful. Perhaps the question is too difficult, and that is why the learners are not answering the question. It is also important to ensure that you distribute your questions to all learners in the class. Some teachers only ask learners in the front of the class, or their favorite learners, or the most brightest learners in the class. If most of your learners are eager to answer the questions and you know you cannot give them all an opportunity to answer, ask them to share their response with their partner. In this way, they at least get to respond to the question. It's also important not to ask questions at the same level. For example, not to only ask closed questions. There should be a mix of questions, such as open and closed questions. Let's look at the following two examples. Question 1. An unemployed person steals from a fruit stall. You see this happen. Do you report the theft to the police, or do you approach the stall holder? A learner could respond to the question, do you report the theft to the police? Yes or no. Or do you approach the stall holder? It could be yes or no, which means the questions are closed. Let's look at question 2. An unemployed person steals from a fruit stall. You see this happen. What do you think is the ethically correct action to take? And why do you think this is correct? You will see this moves more to a combination of open and closed questions. What happens if you don't know the answer to a learner's questions? As human beings, we do not have all the answers, no matter how prepared we are for a topic and how well we know the subject. If you don't know the answer, ask if any learners in the class know the answer. You may be surprised at how much some learners know. Or you can say, I'm not sure of the correct answer. I will find out. It is important to find the correct answer and report back to the class. This will increase learner confidence in you. Do not give learners the incorrect answer deliberately. Learners will quickly pick up if you are a fraud and you will lose their trust. It is important to create a questioning atmosphere that encourages questioning in your classroom. We now move on to how to sequence questions. Refer to the Word document on ECI that takes you through the process of asking questions, responding to questions, directing and redirecting, and refocusing. Each of these actions within the questioning sequence are very similar to questioning skills that you should develop as a student teacher. Thank you for working through this unit with me.